Still ahead on the afternoon edition, Florida's home insurance rate skyrocketed 25%, while most of the nation went up by just 4%. And Florida's government failed to pass any law this year to help. Welcome back. I'm Marco Lamano. More homeowners are worried as the soaring cost of property insurance threatens to ruin them financially. The Florida Office of Insurance Regulation, or OIR, oversees the industry. Commissioner David Altmaier says the cost of roof claims is driving the premium spike. To help cut the cost of these claims, the commissioner is offering less roof coverage for a discounted premium. OIR will soon allow insurers to offer consumers roof deductibles and a schedule on what will be paid on roof replacements. Governor DeSantis said he, quote, would welcome, unquote, a special session on a property insurance fix, but hasn't scheduled one, as he has with redistricting. And before we get into what Florida's government is and isn't doing on the issue, a little backstory. In 2021, the Florida Legislature passed Senate Bill 76. This was supposed to be a cure-all to stop roofing fraud schemes and curb runaway litigation that are driving up home insurance prices. 2 roofing contractors went to court to block a provision that handled door-to-door solicitation of roof claims. The court blocked that major provision on free speech grounds, and since then, fraud schemes and litigation have mounted. 116,000 lawsuits were filed in Florida in 2021. Meanwhile, no other state had more than 900 lawsuits. This year, however, nothing was passed. I spoke with Florida spokesperson for the Insurance Information Institute, Mark Friedlander, who told me the state government is failing Floridians.
And here's what makes matters worse. In the 2022 legislative session, which has ended a few weeks ago, the Senate put together a really strong property reform package and passed it in a bipartisan fashion. It passed on the Senate floor, but the House refused to take a look at it. They felt that after going through the process last year and still waiting for some other provisions of Senate Bill 76 to hopefully have some positive impacts on the market, they don't want to engage in new legislation. So they just dropped it in committee, never made it to a floor vote. The legislature has no interest in taking up the property insurance crisis in a special session, at least in the near term, and most likely this would not be addressed until after the Florida elections in November.
This to me seems like such an obvious thing to have a special session on prior to the elections. What possible reason would they have to wait?
There were a lot of priorities in the Florida legislature this year that did pass.
Seeing no debate, we will move on.
Apparently, helping the homeowners of Florida was not one of those priorities. And while the Senate did a good job pushing through their legislation, and as I said, they got a bipartisan vote to pass it, the House just refused to address the issue. So you've got half of the legislature that understands the problems that we're facing here in Florida in regards to homeowners obtaining insurance, homeowners affording insurance, insurance companies surviving, yet the House ignored it. And now we have to wait for a leadership change, which will take place in November. That's mandated based on state law that the House leadership must change at this point. So we're forced in a situation now where we're going to have more insurers most likely fail, more homeowners being unable to pay their insurance and having to sell their homes. They can no longer afford their homes. And clearly, this is the worst crisis we've seen in Florida since Hurricane Andrew in 1992, when 8 insurers went insolvent after that major disaster in South Florida.
What would be able to push them to actually call a special session as you've pointed out, priorities such as Stop Woke and the Parental Right and Education bill dealing with LGBTQ issues in schools certainly garnered more attention and priority over homeowner insurance increases?
You know, we've looked at what happened in this year's legislature, and clearly their priorities were not in order. I mean, they had an agenda. They passed that agenda, a very controversial agenda, as you just pointed out, but they did not focus on the issues that impact every Floridian. And our suggestion is call your state senator, call your state representative, tell them what's happening to your family personally, how is this personally impacting you, how this may force you to sell the home that you've had for 20 or 30 years or more because you can no longer afford the insurance payment. They need to understand this is happening at the grassroots level. And there's no excuse for not focusing on this in the legislature and now just pretty much ignoring the issue and dealing with other issues in a special session, which has already been called, but not touching property insurance at all and thinking it's okay to table this important issue until the end of the year.
Friedlander says the legislature has the power to call a special session. It doesn't need to be the governor. However, neither the governor or the state legislature have called a special session to address skyrocketing home insurance in Florida, despite the fact that both branches have said they'd welcome one. The special session that was called for this month, a session to establish congressional districts.